Meeting to order 2021. The meeting is being conducted in person at the Springfield Township Administration Building. This meeting is also being offered in a live streaming feature and will be made available on the Township's website beginning tomorrow morning. Comments will not be accepted remotely, but instructions for submitting public comment in advance are provided as part of the posted agenda. So please stand and join the Board of Commissioners in a moment of silent reflection, honoring the servicemen and women who place themselves in harm's way in order to help preserve our safety at home and overseas. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion dispensing with the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting as written and recorded in the official minute book of the Township.
Make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Please record unanimous vote. Okay, we are present missing Commissioner Cobb. Hopefully he'll be here. And we have no substitute professionals. And you have any previous commissioners in attendance? I don't know. Oh, there's Mr. Daly
Daly's in the
in the
back.
back. And anybody else? I don't know. Can't see. Maybe. Anyway. And let's see. I want to announce that the Board of Commissioners conducted an executive session following the workshop meeting held on November 8th, 2021 to discuss one real estate matter and one matter of litigation. So now I'd like to recognize Chief Michael Pitko and Magisterial District Justice Kate McGill, and I'd like to invite them both up to the front of the room. And District Justice McGill will administer the oath of office to patrol officers Eliza Torres and Michael Fantree, and then following the administration of the oath to both officers, Chief Pitko will introduce 5 officers to the community who were hired or promoted during the COVID pandemic and were therefore not able to be recognized by the Board of Commissioners while meetings were conducted remotely. So.
All right, well, thank you, Commissioner, and good evening, everybody. It really is an exciting night, finally having an in-person meeting again. I'm delighted tonight to introduce to you 2 brand new police officers who will be taking the oath from Judge McGill. That brings us up to our authorized manpower. And then in addition, as Commissioner said, introducing 5 individuals that are either hired or 3 that were promoted, total of 5 during the pandemic when we had the virtual meetings only. You might expect it's been a challenging time in law enforcement over the past 20 months, the combination of the pandemic and some of the civil unrest matters in other areas in Montgomery County last summer and fall. But I have to say right from the top that the officers in this department have performed exceptionally. And if you look at it, healthcare workers, fire departments, EMS, and police officers deserve much of the credit for doing basically what we signed up for, particularly during the early stages of the pandemic when there was some uncertainty. So in case you didn't know, hiring a police officer is a very time-consuming process. Candidates take a written examination, physical fitness assessment, interview by our supervisory staff, a very thorough background investigation by our detective division, and a polygraph examination. The top-tier candidates are invited to meet with an interview with the Board of Commissioners, and then a conditional offer is made to the selected officers, and contingent upon that, they receive a physical examination and a psychological. And it should be a time-consuming process because we want the most qualified personnel in our department. The officers who appear before you this evening have performed exceptionally well in all phases of the process. And to the 2 newest officers being sworn in tonight, I'm pretty biased because I grew up in this township and I have well over 35 years of policing in Springfield Township. So I can attest that this is a fabulous community. And there's no doubt in my mind that we are supported by all in the community. So I say to the new officers this evening and the existing officers in the room that you can make a positive change or capability dealing with the public in our day-to-day activities. So I thank you for that. And with that, I'll say we'll call up Officer Torres first. And I'll have a little background information for all the officers. So Officer Eliza Torres, she was actually appointed October 11th, 2021. She's a 2008 graduate of Abraham Lincoln High School, attended the Bucks County Community College between 2013 and 2014, graduated of the Philadelphia Police Academy in 2017, assigned to the 35th District since 2017. That's the area, the Albany section of Philadelphia. She has some specialized training with the Major Incident Response Team, of which we have a comparable team here in Montgomery County since 2003. Also has training in crisis intervention and hazardous materials operation. Officer Torres is bilingual. I think that's the first bilingual officer we've had in Springfield Township in my career, and she's fluent in Spanish. I think her husband's in the room this evening. He's also a firefighter with the Philadelphia Fire Department, so we recognize his service to the city of Philadelphia also. Good.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Repeat after me. I, Eliza Torres. I, Eliza Torres. Do swear. That I will support. That I will support. Obey and defend. Obey and defend. The Constitution. The Constitution. And the laws of the United States. And the laws of the United States. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And the Township of Springfield. And the Township of Springfield. That I will faithfully discharge. That I will faithfully discharge. The duties of my office. The duties of my office. As a police officer. As a police officer. For Springfield Township. For Springfield Township. And that I will uphold. And that I will uphold. Obey and enforce. Obey and enforce. The law. The law. Without consideration. Without consideration. To a person's race. To a person's race. Color. Color. Sex. Religious creed. Religious creed. Sexual orientation. Sexual orientation. Age. National origin. National origin. Ancestry. Ancestry. Handicap. Handicap. Or disability. Or disability. I will obey the rules. I will obey the rules and regulations. And regulations. Policies. Policies. And procedures. Governing sworn members. Governing sworn members. Of the Springfield Township Police Department. Of the Springfield Township Police Department. Also. I will not knowingly accept. I will not knowingly accept. Directly or indirectly. Directly or indirectly. Any money. Any money. Or other valuable things. Or other valuable things. For performance. For performance. Or non-performance. Or non-performance. Of any act. Of any act. Or duty. Or duty. Pertaining to my office. Pertaining to my office. Other than such compensation. Other than such compensation. As may be allowed. As may be allowed. By the Board of Commissioners. By the Board of Commissioners. Of Springfield Township. Of Springfield Township.
Okay, next is Michael Fantree. So that name may sound familiar to you because he's in the audience tonight. Don Fantree, a 27 years with the Springfield Township Police Department, dating back to 1989, and retired in 2016, and now works for Montgomery County as a school safety specialist. So his son Michael is a 2012 graduate of the North Penn High School, 2016 graduate of Kutztown University with a bachelor's degree in sports management, and a 2020 graduate of Temple University Police Academy, the Ambler campus. 2017, he worked sounds like a pretty cool job. He worked as a sales representative with the Miami Marlins. So Michael, you want to come up, please?
I, Michael Fantree,
I, Michael Fantree,
do swear
do swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws of the United States,
and the laws of the United States,
the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
and the Township of Springfield,
and the Township of Springfield,
that I will faithfully discharge
that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as a police officer
as a police officer
for Springfield Township,
for Springfield Township,
and that I will uphold,
and I will uphold,
obey, and enforce
obey, and enforce
the law
the law
without consideration
without consideration
to a person's race,
to a person's race,
color,
color,
sex,
sex,
religious creed,
religious creed,
sexual orientation,
sexual orientation,
age,
age,
national origin,
national origin,
ancestry,
ancestry,
handicap,
handicap,
or disability.
or disability.
I will obey
I will obey
the rules and regulations,
the rules and regulations,
policies, and procedures
policies, and procedures
governing sworn members
governing the board members
of the Springfield Township Police
of
Department.
the Springfield Township Police Department.
Also,
Also,
I will not knowingly accept,
I will not knowingly accept,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money
any money
or other valuable thing
or other valuable things
for performance or non-performance
for performance or non-performance
of any act or duty
of any act or duty
pertaining to my office,
pertaining to my office,
other than such compensation
other than such compensation
as may be allowed
as may be allowed
by the Board of Commissioners,
by the Board of Commissioners
of Springfield Township.
of Springfield Township.
And I don't see, is Andrew, Officer Seltzer here? Back there? Okay, there we go. The mask. It's the mask. So Andrew Seltzer was appointed in the midst of the pandemic, April 27th, 2020. He's a 2008 graduate of the Council Rock High School South, 2011 graduate of the Pennsylvania College of Technology with an associate's degree in automotive technology, a 2014 graduate of Temple University Police Academy in the Ambler campus. From 2015 through 19, a part-time officer with the Town Borough Police Department in Bucks County. 2019 to 20, a full-time police officer with the Westchester University Police Department. And he has some training with the other departments, but with our department, most recent training, 2021 this year, the so-called A-RIDE, or the Advanced Roadside Impaired Driving Enforcement class. Next up will be Officer Litwinowitz. Officer Litwinowitz, Jennifer, was appointed March 29th of this year, 2002 graduate, another North Penn grad, North Penn High School. Attended the Montgomery County Community College for Liberal Arts. A cosmetology license in 2004 from the Ambler Beauty Academy, and a 2020 graduate of the Montgomery County Community College Municipal Police Academy. One notation here, she received what's known as the Spirit of Distinction Award. This recognition from the Academy is typically awarded for enthusiasm and persistence. All right, now we get into the promotion. So we'll lead off with Lieutenant Rebecca Mirsky. All of these three promotions took place at the same time, Lieutenant, Sergeant, and Corporal on August 31st of 2020. So Lieutenant Bursky is a graduate in 1998 of the Germantown Academy with honors, a 2002 graduate of Ursinus College with a bachelor's degree in psychology, 2003 graduate of the Montgomery County Community College Municipal Police Academy, appointed February 10th, 2003. I actually remember the date well because that was the President's Day snowstorm, as I recall, coming into work that morning for day shift. So moving forward, promoted to corporal September 24th of 2007, and then sergeant December 12th, 2012. Quite an extensive training background with Lieutenant Bursky. Not going to list every exact training, but here's the big highlights here. So 2007, the Penn State University's known as the POSIT class, that stands for Police Supervisor in Service Training. More recent, 2019, the FBI Basic Hostage Negotiation. And then between 2020 and 2021, attended the so-called trilogy of classes from the FBI's LEADA. The FBI's got to have an acronym, and that stands for Law Enforcement Executive Development Association. So there's 3 classes for that. There's 3 levels: supervisor, command, and executive. And actually, most of our sergeants are completing that those 3 classes for that trilogy at this time. A lot of them have already completed a lot of the blocks of training in that. 2019, basic crisis intervention specialist, and then 2021, the advanced crisis intervention specialist. And as a side note, again, many of our officers in this department have already completed the basic and advanced crisis intervention training. And all of our officers have completed de-escalation and communication, as well as anti-bias training. More current training going on right now is the Northwestern University School of Staff and Command, a very aggressive, demanding 10-week class where the candidate or the attendee goes for 2 weeks and then typically comes back to 2 weeks to work in Springfield Township or other police departments, and then goes back and completes the training. So basically it takes about 5 months to get that done. And it prepares individuals for executive leadership. I have to say, I attended it many years ago, and by far, I think it's the best training that I received in my entire career. So that's going on right now. Lieutenant Bursky is also a hostage negotiator with the Montgomery County SWAT Central Region team, which we're a member of that team in Montgomery County. It's about 23, 24 police departments are on the Central Region. Also a member of the county's Critical Incident Stress Management Team, or CISM, that's called upon on occasion for officers that need to talk to somebody, get some perhaps counseling for a critical incident that they've experienced. In her spare time, she teaches some classes for the Montgomery County Community College for the police cadets in the Act 120 program. Thank you. Now we have Sergeant Whitney. Now you might notice some of the officers here have a little bit of extra growth. It's No Shave November. A lot of police departments, not only in Montgomery, Bucks County, we participate in that. I do the donation part. I don't look too good in the beard, but it goes to worthy causes. There's a number of charities that the officers contribute to, and it's actually these guys look pretty good with the beard. They probably wanted to have it full time, but in any event, Sergeant Whitney is another graduate of North Bend High School, 2007. 2012 graduate again of the Temple University Ellenwood campus. He was appointed to the Springfield Police Department on September 9th of 2013. Promoted to corporal July 18, 2018. Sergeant Whitney has a background, military background rather, with the Army from active duty from 2007 to 2011. Also served in the Delaware Army National Guard, the 126th Aviation. Sergeant Whitney's father is not, I don't believe he's here tonight, but he's also chief of police in the Falls Township, another large department in Bucks County. Some of the training highlights for Sergeant Whitney: 2018, the fundamentals of supervision, which is instructed by individuals in the Montgomery County Chiefs of Police Association. 2019, mastering Pennsylvania search and seizure. That's one thing about Sergeant Whitney. And there's a few other officers that also have a desire to learn the law and things like search and seizure and doing it the proper way. Case law, I know you're really into the case law, like I am. So he's got that. And this year he completed the first level of the FBI's leader training, the Supervisor Leadership Institute. I'm sure we'll line you up for the command and the Executive Leadership Institute courses sometime when they're announced coming up. So, thank you. And last but not least, Corporal Christopher Calhoun. All right, Corporal Calhoun is a 2008 graduate of Archbishop Ryan High School. 2012 graduate of Pennsylvania State University with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And 2013, he graduated yet again from Temple University Police Academy, the Ambler campus, appointed to the police department here March 31st, 2014. Some of the training highlights for Corporal Calhoun. 2015, they went to a police cyclist class. It's called the International Mountain Bike Association. 2016, 18, and 19 went to field training officer courses, and including the last one, it was called the Leading Edge Field Training. So you're really an expert in that. 2019, a criminal investigation class instructed by members of the Montgomery County Detective Bureau. 2019, a patrol rifle operator. 2020, like Sergeant Whitney, fundamentals of supervision by the Montgomery County Chiefs of Police Association. And last but not least, certainly important, 2020, member and entry operator with the Montgomery County SWAT Central Region team. Thank you. I left out the one party, Corporal Calhoun and family just had a baby girl.
All right.
All right, I think
She's
that
adorable.
concludes our folks this evening. In case you didn't know already, there's our refreshments are down the hallway. So we'll look forward to seeing you down there. So thank you, everybody.
Okay.
You're invited
He's on.
Yeah, I got the bunch.
Yeah, there you go.
Good seeing you, good seeing you.
Congratulations.
You get your water. You need some water.
No, sorry.
That's a guarantee. I would be. A lot of babies.
Yeah.
Weeks.
Rushed out of the hospital. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need always walk. Nothing else.
It's worse, yeah.
Good night, man.
Hey, Dave. Brandon, want to get the door?
Okay, so for those of you who are staying, the board is now open to comments or questions from the public, and the board draws particular attention to those items listed on the agenda this evening. Please be advised that once the committee reports begin, the board can no longer accept questions from the floor. At the conclusion of the committee reports, public comments will once again be accepted. However, official action on those issues listed on the agenda will have already taken place. Therefore, if you wish to comment on an agenda item, now would be the appropriate time. Jim, or, well, Betsy, go ahead. Yeah, sure, yeah.
Betsy Wallace, 7908 Pine Road, Winmore. I just have a question about the 2022 budget statement. If you could explain why there is a projected decrease in the average monthly cost to process and market single stream like recyclables.
Okay, I'm gonna.
I'm going to handle that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the recycling markets have rebounded and we get paid for those commodities that generate a value on the market. So the average monthly cost has come down because we're generating some revenue on the sale of recyclables, which was not the case last year.
I
and
understand, yeah,
unfortunately-
yeah, right. And that's why I was wondering, because the reason why the cost went up last year is because of the soft recyclable market.
Correct.
China withdrew and there were fewer recyclables that could be sold for profit. But so to what do we attribute the rebound in the market?
Oil.
If China's still out.
Oil. As oil
price of oil.
increases, the value of recyclables traditionally increases.
Okay. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks.
All right. Okay, Jim, go ahead. You go ahead, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to talk. First, I want to say thank you to the Board of Commissioners for honoring the police department tonight for the folks that were promoted during the COVID situation. And also the pleasure of seeing the new officers sworn in. Officer Torres especially, she comes from the 35th District, where is a Philadelphia police officer, I believe. Correct. And my nephew was in the 35th District, and I know that's a tough district. It's very busy. And I think she's going to do great here in Springfield Township, along with Mike Fantree. With respect to, I guess I'll take the opportunity because I know he'll be here next month. I had the pleasure of serving 12 years with Mr. Harbinson. Hopefully it was, I wish it was 16, but I wish to thank you for your service to the township. I thought we had a good, relationship together, even though we didn't agree on everything, but I think we always came out with the best result. And I think we did a lot of good for the township. So I wish you luck, Jeff. Appreciate it. And I have a question for the board. And I've been addressing it with Mr. Lee with respect to North Hills Country Club settlement. I don't know if either the township manager or the president can address that. Can you give the residents a flavor of what that settlement was about, what the dollar amount is, and what the impact there would be on the individual taxpayer?
Yeah, it has to do with basically it was a dispute because my understanding of it is that when the current owner bought the property, they, instead of paying full price for the property, they took on debt and then took a lower price on the property and then decided that should constitute a lower tax bill for them. And we didn't agree to that. And so we basically had a dispute and we settled.
What was the dollar amount that we were looking to have paid?
So I don't remember all the numbers off the top of my head because we went back and forth for so many months, but I believe they wanted to have the assessed value reduced or based upon a fair market value of the entire property of, I believe, 2.1 million, Jim,
It was very, very low.
which would be a heck of a deal. I think we could all agree. You could buy that entire golf course for that. So the Board of Commissioners took a position in opposition to that with the Montgomery County Board of Assessment, and we subsequently negotiated a better value.
So what was the assessment and what is the amount of tax revenue that we will not be getting as a result of the settlement?
I have to get those numbers for you. I don't have them tonight.
Yeah,
You have a settlement, so I guess you would know the numbers.
Yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
yeah. It's
Well, what are they? I mean, I'm not trying to hold your feet. Okay.
Yeah, it was like 4.5.
Yeah.
It went up, Jim, because they took the position early on that they had deed restricted the property to only golf, and it turned out that wasn't true. They had deed restricted it only for a certain amount of time
Correct.
to be only
A
golf.
few years of which had already expired.
Right, so we negotiated a settlement that was both. It was both dollars and a longer, whoops.
Jim, you're off, by the way.
Oh, and a longer deed restriction. I think we
So-
got, what, 5 more years, so.
5 more years.
So instead of the deed restriction on the golf course or against anything but a golf course, I
Mhm.
guess is what I should say. Being over in what, Mike's like 5 or 6 more years, it's going to be more like 11 or 12 years.
12 years.
12 more years where it is deed restricted against any use other than a golf course.
Understood. So, but my question is, what was the tax assessment what was the amount of tax they would have paid that they now will not pay because of the settlement?
I don't know, Jim,
Is it-
without, oh, it's in the file.
Litigation, so we don't know how it would have ended up, or how did that work?
Well, I know what they asked for and I know what the
So they
settlement.
say for my house, they want 6,000 in taxes. And I go back to the Board of Assessment and say, well, I think it should be 4. So what was their number that we assessed? And what was the number that they're now paying on? It's public knowledge. so I
Yeah,
just-
yeah, it is. I just don't have it in front of me, Jim. That's all.
Is it in
The settlement
million-
agreement
Is it in the millions?
oh, yeah, millions
so-
and millions of
So if you
dollars.
take 2.5 million, that comes out to about $347 per household if you do 7,200 homes that we will not be receiving revenue for. Is that fair? As a value?
No, no, because the property was in Act 515, I believe.
Correct.
So they were entitled to a reduced assessment.
Mm.
And they said basically that they were entitled to that reduced assessment basically forever on the basis of the contract. But in the sale, they had said, we only have to keep it as a golf course for a certain period of time.
Sure. But it is, and maybe Mike can help out here with me, that is under AAA zoning. So if that land was being developed, the 50% would automatically be subject to a 50% open space. And if it's over 25 acres, it'll be 75%. So whatever the deed
Every zoning
restriction says,
classification has a certain amount of permeable space that has to be maintained.
well, it's a golf course. So I'm asking, if Mike,
Yeah,
is that correct?
sure. In the AAA zoning district, there's a 50% set aside, and then
So-
you can develop the balance of it.
So whether it's developed, so it's sold, I understand the idea to try to preserve the open space, but in the zoning alone, it's already guaranteed to be at least 50%. Whether you negotiate a settlement for the
Unless they
assessment. or not.
develop in another manner, which could be estate lots, which is
Well,
another.
yeah, I
permitted
understood,
thing.
but they're cluster housing also. Okay.
Sure.
No, thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
And the settlement agreement is public record.
I just wonder if we could elaborate tonight, but
Yeah.
I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a
Sure.
good day.
Okay, any other questions?
How long is that 12-year thing that it stays in?
So the
I think
the
it's,
moratorium,
12 more years.
it's 12 more years from now.
2032.
Right, and it might stay a golf course way beyond 12, but they're only legally obligated pursuant to the deed restriction for 12 more years.
Can I just interject something, because since you just brought that up? The group that brought this, I forgot what they're called, Club Core. or
Club Corps of
whatever,
America,
They've got
yeah.
other ones, and the word on the street was, the minute these things, these periods end, they're gonna develop them, which is a really scary thought. And that, in this negotiation, we forced them out, and actually in the beginning, they said, no way, we will not extend. And I'm like, oh crap, it's gonna all get developed. And then they changed their mind at some point. That may have been the lawyer talking with, I talking with the client. Really doesn't matter what went on in the middle. But they did agree to extend it, which is comforting, because I think, I don't want it to change. I think it's great that the golf course there, it's a great golf course, and it's good for the community. So that we've got comfort not only there, but that Philmont and White Manor and some of those others, they're not all just real estate plays. These guys really want to keep them the way they are. So that made me happy.
Right. And I think if we had not settled it, that moratorium would have gone away, right?
The moratorium would have gone away
Yeah.
in 5 or 6 more years.
So. Okay, anybody else? Do we have any emails? Anybody email any questions in? Brandon? Okay.
No.
Okay. All right, then why don't we get to the committee reports, and as the Community Development Committee, I have no report, so then I will pass the gavel on to the Chairman of our Internal Affairs and Library Committee, Commissioner Harbison.
Thank you, Mr. President. You're going to be sick of me here. First matter, I have three agenda items. First one's the November bill listing. I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the October check reconciliation in the amount of $1,681,276.90 and the November bill listing in the amount of $1,612,600.15. That is my motion.
Thank you. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions on the motion? Comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
Thank you. I lied. I have 6 agenda items. That'd really be bad. Moving along, number 3 is the budget meeting schedule. Budget meeting schedule is as follows. The budget presentation is right now. The budget hearing and adoption will be Wednesday, December 8th at 7:30. That's our regular business meeting in this building, which is in the Township building, if you're watching. All meetings will be held here. And now we move on to the next item, which is the budget presentation itself. And I will read this statement. I'll give you the bottom line. The bottom line is the tax rates will be staying the same and the refuse fee will be going down slightly. Springfield Township Board of Commissioners proposes a balanced operating budget for 2022 of $18,315,318 with a real estate tax rate of 4.516 mils and an earned income tax rate of 1.0%. To summarize the impact on the typical residential taxpayer as a result of the 2022 budget projections, the taxpayer will realize no change to their 2022 real estate tax and a reduction of $6.32 to the annual refuse service fee. The 2021 real estate tax was $13.15 more than in 2020, and the 2021 refuse fee was $8.62 more than the 2020 refuse service fee. The typical household in Springfield Township with $175,400 property assessment will pay $792.10 in real estate taxes in 2022, which is the same as in 2021. The township is able to maintain the same tax rate in 2021 due to a decrease in the municipal pension obligations and workers' compensation insurance premiums. These savings are offset to some degree by anticipated increases in capital expenses, including debt service payments, employee wages and benefits, and property and liability insurance premiums. The 2022 discounted refuse service fee will decrease from $231.86 to $225.54, or 2.7% per household, due to a reduction in recycling, processing, and marketing costs, which are offset to some degree by increases in waste disposal fees and employee wages. After increasing by more than $45 per ton in 2021, the average monthly cost to process and market single string receivables is projected to decrease by $55.62 per ton in 2022. The resource recovery plant, where the solid waste collected by the township is converted to energy, is increasing the waste disposal fees charged to the township by $1.22 per ton. The amount of household refuse and recyclables collected by the township will be about the same as in prior years. After reducing the capital contribution for replacement equipment by 1/2 in 2021, the 2022 refuse fees restores proper funding for replacement, collection, and processing equipment. The township will continue to fund its general budgetary obligations through traditional revenue sources such as real estate tax, earned income tax, real estate transfer tax, mercantile and business privilege tax, licenses and permits, fines, and department earnings. In 2019, a local service tax was enacted whereby individuals employed within Springfield Township now pay $1 per week or $52 annually through a payroll deduction. Those who do not earn more than 12,000 annually are exempt from the tax. The township anticipates the receipt of an additional 45,000 in revenues from the local services tax in 2022. The 2022 preliminary budget will be made available for inspection in the office of the township manager, 1510 Paper Mill Road, Winmore, and in the Township Library, 8900 Hawthorne Lane, Winmore, beginning at 5:00 PM on November 12th, 2021. The 2022 preliminary budget will also be posted on the township website on or before the above date. Summary copies of the budget are also available upon request. The Board of Commissioners will accept questions and comments on the budget at their workshop meeting on December 8th, 2021 at 7:00. And again, as part of the budget hearing and adoption, these dates are wrong. Is the 8th the Wednesday or Monday?
The 8th is the Wednesday. It's
Okay, the first one's December 6th.
Yeah.
Monday, the 6th. And then again, as part of the budget hearing and adoption on December 8th, 2021 at 7:30 PM. All aforementioned meetings, as I said, will be conducted in the Springfield Township Administration Building. That is the budget statement. Made it. So we move on to the next item, which is Resolution 1553. I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt resolution number 1553, a resolution designating Brandon J. Ford, Assistant Manager, as a designated agent for the township to work with the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency for the reimbursement of costs associated with remnants of Hurricane Ida, August 31 to September 5, 2021. Mr. Ford shall be authorized to execute and submit any agreements and documentation necessary to facilitate the reimbursement of costs. Montgomery County is among 3 counties in Pennsylvania that are eligible to receive disaster declaration funding. Eligible expenses include debris removal, repairs to public facilities, and township wages for work undertaken to respond to the disaster. That is my motion.
Thank you. And do we hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
Thank you. Resolution number 1554, the Library American Rescue Plan. I move that the Board of Commissioners authorize Baird M. Standish, President of the Board of Commissioners, to execute via electronic signature any and all contracts with the Pennsylvania Department of Education in order to receive Library American Rescue Plan funding in the amount of $9,367. The Library American Rescue Plan is part of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 and allocates funds to designated state, county, and local libraries to perform technology and programming improvements. That is my motion.
Thank you. Do we hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? Okay, and I think we have in fact, a small grant to the library, which we will be using to, I guess, purchase a copier or a scanner, something. like that.
Copier, scanner,
Yeah.
printer. Yeah.
So, okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
Thank you. Finally, item 7, the Health Trust Agreement. I move that the Board of Commissioners authorize an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between Springfield Township and the Delaware Valley Health Trust to provide pooled health insurance benefits for municipal employees, their dependents and retirees by exercising a 2-year renewal option. The renewal option provides a 2022 premium credit in the amount of $67,047, as well as a cap on 2023 premiums equal to 6.5% of the 2022 rates. And as a comment, this is kind of like extending your cell phone. You know, we're going out 1 more year in our agreement and we're getting a better deal. That is my motion.
Thank you. And do we hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Harbison. Okay, we will next move on to the chairman of our Cultural and Environmental Resources Committee, Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one report and one announcement tonight. The first is the recycling report. Pleased to report that during the month of October 2021, Springfield Township residents recycled 186.1 tons of materials with a householder participation rate of 62.3%. The net cost for the month was $12,757.95. My announcement is regarding the Environmental Advisory Commission. On August the 26th, 2021, J. Bailey Smith announced that it was necessary to resign his position as a member of the Springfield Township Environmental Advisory Commission. Mr. Smith was a valuable member of the Environmental Advisory Commission, and on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I would like to thank him for contributing his time and talents to the community. I believe Mr. Smith served for at least 3 years. The second announcement is that with regard to the resignation of Mr. Smith, there presently exists a vacancy as a member of the Springfield Township Environmental Advisory Commission. The members of the Environmental Advisory Commission serve in an advisory capacity to the Board of Commissioners to promote education about issues relating to the management, use, and protection of our local environment. Projects include stormwater management, water quality initiatives, alternative energy and energy conservation, and recycling. If you are interested in serving on the Environmental Advisory Commission or any other advisory board or committee, the Board of Commissioners would like to hear from you. Please forward a letter of interest or a resume to the attention of Michael Taylor, Township Manager, at 1510 Paper Mill Road, Winmore, Pennsylvania, 19038. Or his email address is mtaylor@springfieldmontco.org in order to be considered for an appointment. Do that as soon as possible. That concludes my reports, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Okay, next we will move on to the Chairman of our Parks and Recreational Resources Committee, Commissioner Graham.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report this evening.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Graham. Next, we will move on to the Chairman of our Public Safety Committee, Commissioner Maxwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have a report this evening.
Okay, so next we will move on to the Chairman of our Zoning Committee, Commissioner Cobb.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do have a report this evening. I'll start by saying that the Springfield Township next zoning hearing board meeting will take place on Monday, November 22nd at 7 p.m. In this building, in this room, to receive testimony on the following 2 applications. The first is the application of Orland, PA Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, the owner of the property located at 432 Orland Mill Road. The congregation has requested a dimensional variance and seeking approval to construct a handicap accessible ramp to allow access to the front entry door that will encroach 2.5 feet into the required 30-foot front yard setback area. The property is zoned within the C residential district of Ward number 3 of Springfield Township. And the second application is the application of Christine Morrison, owner of the property located at 406 Poplar Road in Flowertown. Miss Morrison has requested a use variance of the Springfield Township zoning ordinance, seeking approval to operate a daycare for dogs as an accessory use to the single-family dwelling. Relief is needed from the limiting conditions of a no-impact home-based business as defined by the zoning ordinance. That property is located within the A residential district of Ward 6 of Springfield Township. Copies of the application packets are available for review in the Community Development Office during normal business hours, located at 1510 Paper Mill Road in Winmore, or on our website at springfieldmontco.org. And second, I have a motion regarding 1331 Ivy Hill Road. On September 14th, 2021, a petition was filed by Foreman Sign Company for the new life storage, self-storage facility located at 1331 Ivy Hill Road, Philadelphia. The petition requested 2 variances from the Springfield Township zoning code in order to erect signage of 81.25 square feet and 64.80 square feet in size, where signs of no more than 40 square feet and 20 square feet are otherwise permitted. At the October 13th, 2021 meeting of the Board of Commissioners, the board authorized the Office of the Township Solicitor to represent the interests of the board to oppose both variance requests. The applicant subsequently revised their plans by reducing the size of the proposed secondary sign so that it is in compliance with the zoning regulations. Therefore, I move that the Board of Commissioners rescind their authorization to oppose to the petition filed by Foreman Sign Company for the property located at 1331 Ivy Hill Road, subject to the following conditions. One, that the petition shall be amended by the applicant to reflect the revised sign package dated November 1st, 2021, and to include a variance request for the proposed height of both signs. And two, that the illumination of the signs must be turned off at 11 p.m. or the close of business, whichever is earlier. And finally, three, the sign shall be constructed of a material that does not cause glare or nuisance to adjacent residential dwellings. And that's my motion.
Thank you. And do we hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion?
Yeah, I have a comment on that one. I thought that part of the resolution was going to, or the motion was going to include notices to the offices of State Representative Sherelle Parker and also State Senator Art Haywood to let the residents in that area know about the signage. Was that ever to be included as part of the change in the motion?
That was handled by staff today.
That was handled by
That
staff?
was hand delivered to both offices today.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Great. Okay, any other questions, comments? Nope. Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Please record a unanimous vote.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. That's my report.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cobb. And finally, we will go to the chairman of our Public Works and Facilities Committee, Commissioner Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not have a report this evening, although I would like to just make a quick statement, just recognizing our Public Works Department and staff. I mean, it's been a really rough summer with storms and water in people's homes and damage to their homes. Probably won't get any better in the next couple of years, but the fact that we transitioned to a new Public Works Director, Mr. Hammer, just staff in general, including you, Mr. Taylor, should be commended for really being responsive to the constituents. As far as I could see, people, taking in the input from the people that had issues. And for folks that weren't aware of, last month at our workshop meeting, we went through a pretty comprehensive list of potential stormwater improvement projects that we can embark on, largely thanks to some federal monies that were going to be allocated for that. But we revisited that on Monday night a little bit too, but so it's good to know that some help's on the way and it's in the right hand. So
Great,
thank you.
you're here. Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Lee. Okay, so that wraps up our committee reports, and with nothing else on the agenda, I will then ask that if anybody has any comments for the board or questions for the board, now would be a good time to. Sir, go ahead. Yes. Whoops, I'm sorry. Yes.
Bernard Kling at 1909 Sycamore Lane. I'm a little new to this, but Mr. Standis, I guess this would be addressed to you.
Okay.
I heard something about the, basically library grant that is being dedicated towards technology improvements.
It is,
for better-
well, that's what it'll be used
lack of
for.
a better
yeah.
term. I just want to make a comment that having been a resident of this township for 53 years, my entire life, I have noticed that the fiction section of the library has essentially been the same since I was in grade school.
The what section? I'm
The
sorry.
fiction section.
Fiction section, okay.
There are gaping holes in seminal authors and works in our fiction section. And as an example, I would look towards possibly Happer Horsham's library, which has, major authors, major works that are in compendiums, say Everyman Library, stuff like that. I would just like to make a suggestion to you that we look at obtaining some funds or just looking at that so that it is truly, I mean, what you see is like beach reading from like 1974, taking up large sections
Yeah.
of the shelving and, novels that should be available, in a library
Uh-huh.
from authors that are widely known, widely recognized as great authors, and if you could kind of look into that, I'd love to kind of spearhead
Sure.
maybe overhauling our fiction
Yeah,
section.
and these meetings are open, so if you want to attend a meeting and make a suggestion, you can do that too.
At the library. then.
Sure. yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, when-
Appreciate it.
If you don't, you can write us a letter. I'm on the library board at least for one more month. And then they would love getting letters these people live and breathe it. And so it's really nice to see where people think things are soft and things are too much, because that feedback may not get to them. It's
Okay.
not like there's any plan. It's,
Yeah.
and it may be the logistics of one of the challenges we have at the library is getting rid of books, because you got to make the space. And that's why we have the sales, but the sales, we've gotten backed up because of COVID. We haven't had our last two sales. But those things, your input would be greatly appreciated, even if it's not perfect and thought out, just to open it up. That'd be
Oh,
great.
it'll
Or
be
just
thought
come to
out.
one of our
I don't know
meetings.
about
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you very much.
That would
Appreciate it.
Okay,
Be appreciated greatly.
Okay. Thanks.
Great, thank
great,
you.
thank you. Anybody else? Jim, go ahead.
Sorry, Tim Daly, Pennant Road again. With respect, I think it's application number 2 for zoning. What is the use variance that's being requested and why? Why is it necessary? I
Which
guess
one
my
is that?
question. Morrison?
This is for the
Want me
dog
to take
daycare
that?
facility.
The use variance would be for the dog daycare.
And why is that not permitted in zoning now under possibly livestock or, help me out?
It's not, well, that'd be agriculture, Jim. if it
I
was-
know,
if it
but-
was- This is just a residential neighborhood where I think the application that I've seen shows as many as 13 or 14 dogs in the backyard. And
Mhm.
the daycare sections that the applicant is citing relate to people, not dogs or children, actually. So the
This is
question
very-
becomes whether the zoning board feels that those daycare provisions are relevant to that many dogs, whether there's enough area, whether there are noise problems, all those things, I guess the zoning
Well,
board will take
and-
into consideration.
And the Board of Commissioners, I hope, is not taking a position.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, just for the record, that is a wonderfully run area. She runs a tremendous place. She's a single mom. So if there's any way you could waive the fee for the zoning, that'd be greatly appreciated. But I think speak as a neighbor and I'll say as a friend. It's a wonderful, it's immaculate what she does there. And I'll be going to the zoning board in support of it. But it's, if you're going to have a facility in residential, that's the facility to have.
Jim,
So,
that was exactly my view
Oh,
was,
it's-
we don't know. Let the neighbors come. If the neighbors all say it's horrible or the neighbors all say it's great,
Yes.
you've been on the zoning board. The zoning board will most likely
Understood.
follow that. So come say whatever you want. I mean,
Sure. No, I
we've
appreciate
heard
it. Yeah.
nothing bad. It did start with some complaints and then the officer looked at it and said it's not compliant. And then she had the
If the
choice of
complaints for
whether
dogs
to
barking in
appeal
the
or get the
neighborhood.
variant. I mean, you know the way these things come, but you also know it's
Sure.
people pro or
Understood.
con should come to that meeting. That
It's a very, very fine run.
that's great.
operation. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Jim. Anybody else? All right, well, thanks, Joan.
You want to get her the microphone?
Yeah, why don't we, yeah.
We'll bring you the mic.
Joan Parsons Orland. With all this, the issues with the library books that are in different states on the pornography, Loudoun County, North Penn, I'm asking with the library that we have here, is Mary Catherine still the head of it? Okay, because I was on the library board. I know your books come in and out. So they rotate books from other, I believe they still do that. Other libraries will give you books and you vice versa. So my question is, do you have any kind of policy or procedure on books that would be considered light porn or pornography where it's sexually explicit, like children books? Because there is one over at the high school and for the 9th to the 12th graders. And I'm just asking if that's the case here.
I don't know. Jeff, do you know anything like that?
No, you might just ask, because she's still there.
Mary
And,
Catherine?
you know, yeah, I would just go ask her. I don't know. the
Well,
policy.
do you have a policy where you don't want these books to come into the library? That you're
I
going,
don't know of any, I don't know what our policy is or what the template would be, but you should go talk to her. She's the expert. And if you want to propose a policy, I just don't know.
okay, well, the books are out there. I mean, it's pretty widespread all over the United States and they're pretty graphic. And I think if you saw one, you would not want that in the library here or, and again, the high school is a totally different issue. But since I'm here, I wanted to know if you have any rules on, like, I'm sure you don't have adult books coming into the library. You must have some kind of something
Well,
that,
we delegate that to the
To ma-
library professionals and
Okay.
I'm sure they have policies and,
okay,
but I don't know what they're, it's not something I would hope we would never be voting on what.
okay,
what
thank you
people
very
should
much.
read.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question for Commissioner Cobb. What's the lady's name who's running the doggy daycare center? I have dogs. So useful information.
Christine Morrison.
Morrison?
Morrison, yes.
Okay, thank you very
Yep.
much.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, go ahead.
$200.
Okay, so my name is Michael Parsons, 1603 Brent Road. I just have a couple, well, actually I have three kind of questions, maybe statements. The Environmental Advisory Board, do they also advise the school board?
No.
No,
No, that's a completely different advisory board? Okay. The Environmental Advisory Board that advises the Township Board. What do they advise about, like water basins and stuff like that?
they kind of create their own agenda and it's very educational, but a lot of that, like for instance, Joy Berge has, put together a program to, I won't say push, but, make available, solar panels for, residents in the township.
Okay.
They have a new program where it's called, they've changed the name of it. It was, they clean
Renewable Springfield.
Renewable Springfield, where, over the course of the next 20 or 30 years, we're all going to go to clean energy and that sort of thing.
Right, so it's pretty in-depth.
Yep.
It's mostly,
a
they
lot
have
of
two
it.
purposes. One is to be an advisor to us and the other is to be educational to the township.
Right.
And it's almost all educational because they don't have any work that goes to them unless we ask them, take a look at this. So it's
Correct.
not
Right,
like
yeah.
things
We have a
that go to
township
planning, go to them or,
Or they
retention
can come
basin.
to
None
you.
of that goes to them.
They can come to you if they see there's an issue and
well,
say, hey, there's an
anybody
issue going on over here.
But that tends to be not what they do. What they
No.
do is they'll do rain barrel workshops and,
Okay.
how to prune your trees and how to
Oh, gotcha.
help with stormwater and they kind of come up with that.
So
on
no
their own.
engineering aspect of it or anything like that?
So, no, so they're,
No.
but they're really, you should go to their meetings. They're
Yeah.
probably the most, except maybe planning, the most interesting because there are a lot of really talented people up there working on some interesting stuff.
Now, the reason I ask is because I know I think the high school, they're having problems with their basin that they have there where it keeps flooding. And I think they're spending like something like $50,000 to get that fixed.
Mm.
Not 100% sure on that, but I kind of catch things here and there. And I was wondering what they thought about maybe instead of trying to catch the water, instead, like maybe pumping it out.
Yeah, that would be our engineer that
That
would help.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Okay. So anyway, that's one thing with the,
Right.
going with the school board over there. And the Pico land near the baseball fields, I think it's at the end of Roche Avenue. I don't know what's going on there, but that's a pretty huge area. I think it's like 5 or 10 acres or something like that. Have you guys thought of anything to do with that area? I'm not sure if it's even able to be used as like maybe a playground or a dirt bike park or maybe a skate park or something like that. I know a lot of kids in the township have dirt bikes and stuff.
Well, it's owned
Kinda-
by Pico, as you noted, and they
Yeah.
have a number of gas transmission lines that run beneath it. as
Right,
well
but it
as
is,
a gas gate valve there.
but they don't actually use that land anymore, correct? It was
They own
abandoned.
it.
They
use
own it,
for
but
the
it's not,
distribution
it's not in
facility.
use.
Yeah, it's not a location for their maintenance crews as it
So-
was in the 80s.
Okay, but we can't do anything with it because of the environmental aspect of it,
Because it's privately owned by Pico.
but they abandoned. Do they pay tax on that land?
No, they're a public utility.
But they're not using it. That's what I mean.
They
They
have a-
own the
well,
land.
they
They're
have a
not using it
right-of-way.
as a public
They have a right
utility.
away that goes all the way along.
What are they
Ivy
using
Hill
it
Road,
for?
And, you know,
What are they using it for?
It's a distribution facility for the
Is
natural gas.
Is it in use?
Yes,
So it is in use.
yes,
Okay,
for that purpose. You don't notice it from above, but all of that is still going on.
okay. So I was looking at, it was abandoned land that is not in use, but that's not true.
That's not
Okay.
true.
Okay, very good.
but but that's not, I mean, they own a whole swath of land all along Ivy Hill Road that, doesn't look like it's being used for anything and.
Well, yeah, I know, and we're trying to do
So-
the trails,
Yeah,
rails to
right.
trails, and that goes right through there.
Right, yeah.
And,
So-
that's just,
So we're trying to negotiate with Pico, but, I guess they play it close to the vest. I don't know.
yeah, I think there's a couple people in the township that work for Pico, I think, too.
Yeah.
Right, so, okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, you want to be on the environmental advisory committee? You
Hey,
could
if it's
figure-
rain barrels and, that's pretty much all I have to do. Why
Yeah,
not?
well,
They're long meetings.
yeah. All right.
Good evening.
Hi.
My name is Mary Ellen Reeves. I'm a little tall for this. Let me readjust this. Just to piggyback off that gentleman's comment, I had listened to the school board. They were doing facilities. And with regard to the fields, and this I understand is a state road and the flooding that comes over. And I don't know if this has anything to do with the environmental, but I'm asking you because they spent $30 million for that field and then 3% or so adjustments. And it floods from the back way. And they actually had to stretch that field like a carpet. So my concern is that this keeps continuing to flood and it's a state road, which I don't think has anything to do with the school. And how would we address that? So those continued flooding and stretching of that actual field doesn't impact our tax dollars. Is there any information you could provide me with for that?
We actually met with a representative from PennDOT to bring that to his attention. And they brought a machine out to video and to make sure that their system is working properly. It's just a matter of volume that's coming down.
Is there any culpability? I mean, who's like, it's volume, but it's going to continue to happen, right? So there's engineers that are looking at it. Is there any plans for next steps?
Yeah, I'm not aware of anything
And is
immediate.
there anyone I could speak to that would know that? It
Probably
would,
your state representative
okay,
or state senator.
okay. All right, very good.
The problem is, where do we find the capacity to store that water
I-
that's reaching there?
Yeah, I'm 100% understand where and what the problem is and the engineering aspects of it. I totally get it. My concern, a little song and dance of my concern is the
End of intermission.
my concern is the tax increases that potentially could happen because of it. I mean, that is obviously the issue here. And the usability of
The
the
loss of
field for the
use.
students. So just, I'll contact my state rep. Thanks so much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
If there's no more public comment, I would just like to thank the board for sponsoring two of the Springfield Library employees, Mary Catherine, and who was the other employee, Mike?
Mary Lou Hughes.
And Mary Lou, for coming to the NAACP and Hope Alliance first annual honors dinner, historical honors dinner, where they met with the great-great-grandson of Frederick Douglass. And two books were donated, two signed copies of the new book written by Mr. Green, who is the great-grandson, a great-great-grandson of Frederick Douglass. 2 signed copies by Mr. Green are now in the library for our children to take a look at. And I just wanted to thank the board publicly for sponsoring those tickets so that that honor can be bestowed upon our library. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so if there are no more questions or comments, and we're at the end of our agenda, then I will ask for a motion to, or entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
So moved. Any seconds?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Meeting is adjourned.
All right.